Most people spend the second half of their lives frantically trying to dominate circumstances they were never meant to control. You have been told that power is seized through force, that security is bought with speed, and that influence is a product of noise. This is a dangerous illusion that leaves your foundations cracked and your legacy vulnerable to the first sign of trouble. Real authority is not taken. It is attracted through the quiet, disciplined alignment of your character with the enduring laws of reality. There is a timeless path of order and structure that transforms modern chaos into a stable, lasting peace. Today, we will examine the ethical blueprint required to build a life that no storm can move. I am Rabbi Ben, and today we begin a journey toward understanding a deep hunger that resides in every human heart. We live in an era of unprecedented speed and technological marvels. With a single tap on a glass screen, you can summon food, transport, or information from the other side of the planet. This convenience has birthed a dangerous illusion. We have come to believe that because we can control our devices, we should be able to control the very fabric of our lives. We expect the world to bend to our will with the same immediacy as a digital interface. When life refuses to comply, we feel a profound sense of instability. This modern hunger for control is not a sign of strength, but a symptom of a soul that has lost its anchor. We look at the chaos of the global economy, the shifting cultural tides, and the unpredictability of the future, and we reach for any lever that promises certainty. This desire is understandable, especially as we cross the threshold into the second half of our lives. You want to know that your world is secure. You want to believe that you can shield those you love from the storms of reality. However, seeking control through domination or technology is like trying to hold back the tide with your bare hands. It is exhausting and ultimately futile. My goal is to show you that there is a different way to live. This series is not about teaching you how to force the world into a shape that pleases you. It is about teaching you how to align yourself with the enduring principles that govern existence. Real influence does not come from the frantic attempt to manage every external variable. It comes from a disciplined, ethical interior life. We are going to examine why we crave this power and how we can transform that craving into a meaningful agency that actually works. We must move away from the frantic search for shortcuts and toward the patient construction of a life built on solid rock. This is the path of wisdom, and it begins with a sober assessment of where we truly stand in the order of nature. As we move past 40, the desire for control often changes its face. It is no longer the ambitious fire of youth trying to conquer the world. It becomes something quieter and more desperate. It is driven by fear. We begin to feel the first subtle shifts in our physical strength. We see the numbers in our bank accounts and wonder if they are enough to withstand a long winter. We look at our children or our legacy and realize how little influence we actually have over the choices of others. This realization can lead to a frantic search for miracles or a sudden obsession with power. We want to control nature because we are afraid that nature is finally catching up to us. We seek shortcuts to health, speculative financial wins, or ways to demand the respect we feel is slipping away. I have seen many good people fall into the trap of the quick fix. They believe that if they can just find the right secret or the right miracle, they can bypass the natural consequences of time and neglect. But let us be honest with one another. Authority that is demanded is never truly held. Influence that is bought with a shortcut has no roots and will topple in the first high wind. When we try to bypass reality because we are afraid of aging or insignificance, we actually accelerate our own decline. We become fragile because we are no longer grounded in the truth. The urge to dominate our circumstances is often just a mask for the anxiety of losing our status. We must confront this fear directly. We must acknowledge that our time is finite and our resources are a trust, not a possession. Only when we stop running from the reality of our limitations can we begin to build something that actually lasts. Legacy is not something you force upon the world. It is the natural fruit of a tree that has been planted in the right soil and tended with patience for many years. We are here to learn how to plant that tree correctly, ensuring that your second half of life is defined by dignity rather than a desperate scramble for relevance. In our culture, the word miracle is often used to describe a suspension of reality. People pray for a miracle when they want to escape the consequences of their choices or when they want a result without the necessary labor. They view a miracle as a divine out or a magical intervention that breaks the rules of nature. I want to challenge this definition. I want to reframe a miracle not as a bypass of reality, but as the highest expression of it. A real miracle is the outcome of perfect preparation, meeting a moment of opportunity. It is what happens when a person aligns their life so closely with the laws of nature and ethics that they begin to see results that appear impossible to the undisciplined eye. When a man spends 20 years building a reputation for absolute integrity and then finds that doors open for him during a crisis while others are shut out, that is a miracle. But it is a miracle built on the foundation of 10,000 honest days. Real change does not happen by ignoring the way the world works. It happens by working through it with more precision than anyone else. You must ask yourself a difficult question. Do you seek power over life, or do you seek partnership with life? Power over life is the fantasy of the tyrant and the magician. It is the desire to bend the world to your whims. Partnership with life is the path of the wise steward. It is the recognition that there are laws, physical, emotional, and spiritual, that cannot be broken. When you honor these laws, life begins to respond to you in ways that feel miraculous. You stop fighting the current, and you start using the depth of the river to carry you toward your destination. This requires a shift from magical thinking to radical responsibility. It means accepting that there are no shortcuts to a life of meaning. Before we move into the mechanics of this alignment, I want you to take a moment of honest reflection. If you are ready to stop chasing illusions and start building on truth, write, "I am seeking partnership, not power," in the comments. Tell me the specific area where you are currently struggling to find control. To understand how to influence the world, we must first accept that nature is a system, not an enemy. It follows laws, not moods. If you plant a seed in parched earth and refuse to water it, no amount of wishing, shouting, or positive energy will make it grow. Nature does not care about your intentions. It only responds to your actions and their alignment with its rules. Ethical traditions have taught for millennia that success is the result of cooperation with reality, not the conquest of it. Think of a master builder. He does not fight gravity. He understands gravity so intimately that he can use it to hold a massive cathedral in place for 500 years. He does not view the weight of the stone as an obstacle, but as the very thing that provides stability. This is how we must approach our lives. We often view the challenges of health, finance, and relationships as enemies to be defeated. We see the natural laws of cause and effect as burdens. But these laws are actually our greatest allies. They provide the structure that makes growth possible. If life were truly random, if there were no predictable laws, you could never build anything. You would be a victim of a chaotic universe. Instead, you live in a world where timing, effort, and patience yield predictable harvests. Growth requires a season of hidden roots before there is ever a visible branch. It requires the discipline of pruning the dead wood so the living vine can thrive. When you stop trying to force results and start honoring the process, you gain a different kind of power. It is the power of the farmer who knows exactly when to sow and when to reap. This is not the loud, brittle power of the dictator. It is the quiet, unbreakable power of the man who understands the terrain. By aligning your habits with the way the world actually works, you cease being a spectator of your life and become a participant in its design. You begin to move with the grain of reality rather than against it. There is only one domain in this entire universe where you truly govern, and that is the space within your own skin. This is the hardest truth for most adults to accept. We spend our energy trying to manage our spouses, our co-workers, our children, and our reputations, yet we often leave our own house in total disarray. We want to control the world because we have failed to master ourselves. Real influence is a radiation that moves from the inside out. If you cannot govern your own tongue, your own appetite, and your own schedule, why should life trust you with anything greater? Self-mastery is the sole foundation of dignity and credibility. When you make a promise to yourself and you keep it, you build internal capital. You develop a sense of self-respect that others can sense. This is where real power begins. People do not follow those who demand obedience. They follow those who demonstrate discipline. Your reactions to the world are the only things you can consistently choose. When a crisis hits, the man who has mastered his internal state remains a pillar of strength while everyone else is swept away by the wind. This is not about being cold or unfeeling. It is about being structured. It is about deciding that your values are more important than your moods. Every external outcome you desire, be it a stable family, a successful business, or a respected legacy, is shaped by the thousands of tiny decisions you make when no one is watching. If you want to change your life, you must stop looking at the horizon and start looking at your daily routine. You must build a wall of discipline around your time and your character. This is not a restriction, it is a liberation. The man who is a slave to his own impulses can never be free to lead others. By taking absolute responsibility for your actions, your words, and your thoughts, you claim the only throne that actually matters. From that seat of self-governance, you will find that the world begins to respond to you with a new level of order and respect. You stop being a victim of circumstance and start being the architect of your destiny. I have observed throughout my years that ethical systems across the world reject unearned power. There is a profound reason for this. Power without a foundation of character is a house built on sand. It may look impressive for a season, but it produces nothing but instability and eventual harm. We see this in the man who gains sudden wealth but lacks the discipline to manage it, or the leader who demands authority but lacks the integrity to protect those under him. Authority without character leads to a certain collapse, whether in families, finances, or leadership. Real power is not something you seize. It is the trust that life places in a person who has proven themselves reliable over time. Think of it as a credit score for the soul. Life monitors how you handle the small things, your honesty in private transactions, your consistency in your duties, and your treatment of those who can do nothing for you. If you are found faithful in these small matters, you are naturally granted more weight and influence. This is why ethical frameworks are not just sets of rules to restrict you. They are the blueprints for building a life that can actually sustain the weight of success. When you operate with integrity, you reduce the friction in your life. You do not have to remember lies. You do not have to hide from consequences, and you do not have to fear the truth. This reliability creates a gravity that draws people and opportunities toward you. You become a person of substance. In the second half of life, the world has a way of stripping away the superficial. What remains is the quality of your character. If you want to have a lasting impact on your family or your community, you must first earn the moral right to lead. Real power is the quiet confidence of a man who knows that his external life is a true reflection of his internal values. We now come to the heart of our study, the concept that life responds to alignment, not control. This is the highest form of influence a human being can attain. I call it partnership with reality. When you align your effort with the correct timing, your humility with a spirit of service, and your actions with the truth, you create outcomes that appear miraculous to the observer. However, there is no magic involved. It is simply the result of moving in harmony with the laws we have discussed. Imagine a sailor. He does not control the wind, nor does he command the sea. If he tries to fight the gale with brute force, he will be destroyed. Instead, he studies the wind. He adjusts his sails with precision. He respects the power of the water. Because he aligns his ship with the forces already in motion, he can reach his destination, even against the wind. This is how you must navigate the complexities of aging, finance, and legacy. You must stop trying to dominate your circumstances and start looking for the wind of principle. When you serve others, you align yourself with the law of contribution. When you save and invest with discipline, you align yourself with the law of compounding. When you speak the truth, you align yourself with the law of clarity. These are the bridges between wisdom and action. This mindset requires a deep humility. It requires you to admit that you are not the center of the universe, but a participant in a much larger, beautifully ordered system. When you play your part with excellence, the system supports you. Life ceases to be a constant struggle and begins to feel like a purposeful journey. You are no longer fighting the world. You are working with it to produce a harvest of dignity. Before we move into the practical habits of this lifestyle, I want to know which of these principles has challenged your thinking the most. If you are ready to stop fighting the current, share which insight resonated most strongly with your current stage of life, and write, "I am aligning with the truth," in the comments. We must now move from the high peaks of principle down into the valley of practice. Wisdom that does not change your Monday morning is not wisdom at all. It is merely a pleasant thought. To move away from the anxiety of control, you must replace magical thinking with daily structure. Many people wait for a sign or a dramatic miracle to change their health or their finances. They hope for a sudden wind of change that will fix years of neglect. But I tell you, the real miracle is found in the small, consistent actions that form the skeleton of your day. Structure creates freedom. When you have a disciplined routine for your physical health, your work, and your relationships, you are no longer at the mercy of your moods or the whims of the world. You have built a fortress that can withstand the storms. If the economy shifts, the man with a structured financial life and a reputation for reliability is the last to fall. If a health crisis arises, the man who has treated his body as a temple for decades has the best chance of recovery. We must stop looking for the grand gesture and start looking at the minute details. How do you start your first hour? How do you speak to your spouse when you are tired? How do you manage the single dollar in your hand? These are the bricks of your legacy. Small, consistent actions replace the need for dramatic interventions because they prevent the crisis from occurring in the first place. This is the essence of resilience. By building a life of structure, you are not being rigid. You are being prepared. You are creating a container that can hold the blessings you seek. Without structure, even a miracle would be wasted on you, for you would have no way to sustain it. The true modern miracle is the power of routine. We often overlook the mundane because it lacks the excitement of the spectacular, but routine is the engine of long-term success. I want you to consider the concept of incremental improvement. If you improve your character, your habits, or your skills by just a tiny fraction every day, that progress compounds over years and decades. This is how a common man becomes a pillar of his community. This is how a modest income becomes a legacy of generational wealth. Routine is the physical expression of your commitment to your principles. It is how you prove, day after day, that you are a man of your word. When you establish a routine of emotional reliability, your family learns that they can lean on you. When you establish a routine of financial discipline, your future self learns to trust your present self. This compounding effect is the closest thing to a miracle we can access in the physical world. It is the process by which 1,000 small yeses to the truth become a mountain of character. This requires a long-term perspective that is rare in our modern world. Most people are focused on the next 15 minutes, but the man of wisdom is focused on the next 15 years. He understands that his daily habits are the seeds of his future harvest. You must take responsibility for the engine of your life. Do not ask for a lighter burden. Ask for a stronger back. Do not ask for the world to be easier. Ask for the discipline to handle what is difficult. When you embrace the beauty of the routine, you find that the anxiety of control begins to fade. You no longer need to worry about the future because you are busy building it, one brick at a time, with a steady hand and a clear heart. We conclude this journey by returning to the most important truth of all. The real miracle is not the world you change, but the man you become. We began by talking about the desire to control nature and access miracles. I hope you now see that while nature cannot be dominated, the self can be refined. The transformation of your character is the only sustainable form of control you will ever possess. It is the only thing you take with you, and it is the only thing that truly leaves a mark on the hearts of others. You cannot force your children to be honorable, but you can be an honorable man they are proud to emulate. You cannot command the markets to rise, but you can be a man of such skill and integrity that you are always in demand. You cannot stop the passage of time, but you can fill your years with a dignity that makes every gray hair a crown of wisdom. The hunger for power is finally satisfied when we realize that our greatest duty is stewardship of our talents, our time, and our influence. When you live in alignment with reality, you move from a state of frantic demanding to a state of peaceful service. You become a source of stability for others. This is the ultimate blessing, to be a person whose presence brings order to chaos and whose life serves as a map for those who are lost. It takes patience, it takes courage to face the truth. But I promise you, the life built on these foundations is more rewarding than any magical shortcut. You are capable of building a legacy of substance. You are capable of earning the respect that lasts. This is your duty and it is your highest calling. If you are ready to take the first step toward this new way of living, I invite you to leave a clear commitment in the comments. State one concrete change in your habits or your character that you will begin this week. Write, "I am committing to your action," and let this be the moment your new life begins. Stay grounded, stay disciplined, and go in peace.